You've heard of business reviews. Get ready for character reviews. Do you know how difficult it is to piss me off so hard that I am willing to spill all of your dirty laundry and humiliate you on the internet? Name your place of business. Do you know how difficult it is to get me to that level? Years ago when Sagittarius screwed me over. Oh yeah, I'm that girl. This is, I guess, the second review of anything I've made. But years ago, when Sagittarius screwed me over, I didn't even name the people. That's how piping hot this tea is. And it kills me because I have been so exceedingly merciful. I made a different video yesterday, and I let these people know. I planned on making it unlisted. I planned on letting them see it and make the call whether or not I had to post it. All I wanted was an apology to somebody else. A very, very good person. This man in turn threatened me. I don't know, do other people bluff? Like, I don't bluff. I don't not do what I say I'm going to do. And I'm exceedingly transparent. So I guess he thought I was bluffing. So now this is the new video. I'm not going to let them preview. I'm going to go ahead and just post it. I said I no longer have the expectation of repentance. And this video is so much worse than the other one because you don't threaten me. But it's still funny because even though the Sagittarius video popped off and I got like 40,000 views in 2 days and there's all this drama and everything, I actually hope this one doesn't. I'm going to put it out there and then I'm going to walk away and I'm going to let universe, the internet, and God do whatever. And I do hope these people find some kind of repentance. I actually really do. I prayed for them last night. And if there's any kind of contrition, I'll take it all down. At the end of the day, I am still pretty merciful. However, vengeance is the Lord's, but I will get the ball rolling. So what could make me so mad to make a video like this? There was extreme mistreatment of people that I love. Now, these people mistreated me. Okay, whatever. Used to it. I let it roll off me. I move on. What they did to me was pretty extreme. I'll go over that. But it was what they did to other people that I love. I have watched for 2.5 years as a very good person who has bent over backwards and come to the rescue of 2 other people has been treated like garbage by the people I'm about to name. And I just can't have that. So we're going to start at the beginning. Gather round, children, for another tale. The names of these individuals are Daniel and Tina Horst. Tina, if she has not retired, works at Broadfording High in the library. Danny Horst has a company called Funk Electrics out of Hagerstown, Maryland. Now, I do not want retaliation. This is going to anger a lot of people. However, remember, we are the ones with integrity. Do not go and pretend to be a fake customer in order to bring this man's business down. However, if you are a real customer and this person screwed you over, be vocal. After I made the Sagittarius video, so many people reached out to me saying, you don't understand how horribly these women treated me. Thank you for finally standing up because now I feel like I can. So go ahead. Let your voice be heard, but do not lie. Which brings me to my next point. They literally can't do anything legally to me for this video. Yeah, I looked it up. I know the laws. Even going after defamation of character, that only works if there's lies, and I'm not lying. And I've got the receipts. I'm pretty sure they don't want me posting a video backing up everything I'm saying with videos and witnesses and receipts. Let's start at the beginning. My family has lived in this home in the country for quite a while. When we moved in, The first neighbor to come over was this elderly woman. She brought us a fruit basket, and we very quickly just adopted her and her husband as like our adopted grandparents. They would come over, we would go over there, I'd bring them cakes for their birthdays. My children love these people. The first time my kids ever like went on any kind of adventure away from my house was just to these people's house. They just go over and hang out with them. They truly are very wonderful people, which is why I decided to do what I did. Now, their health went downhill, and they went and sought out someone who they knew was in the medical field. That's when they met my friend, who, for the purpose of this, I'm going to call her Kay. They went over to Kay's house, a perfect stranger to them, and expressed concern over the wife's arm. The wife's arm had turned black. I hadn't known this. I hadn't seen them in weeks, because sometimes weeks would go between us seeing each other. I had 4 very little kids at the time. The oldest was, I believe, 5. So they usually would come over to us. But of course, Kay freaks out and realizes that these people, they need help. The woman had to have her arm amputated. And that was when my friend realized that she needed to step up, because these people had no one else. Like, they had me, but I was just a little bit busy. I also did not have any medical training, nor much wherewithal being alone in the house with all these kids and homeschooling them. So she stepped up, and even though she had no power of attorney or anything, and she had no relation to them, she went over to their house every day to make sure that they were getting their medications, give the woman who was diabetic her shot. This woman put herself in charge of making the appropriate doctor's appointments and getting them to their doctor's appointments a lot of times. This stranger to them more or less started having to live her life around them. Now, this woman, I don't think she'll care if I say this. She'll watch this. I am trying to protect her privacy. She has medical issues, chronic, and she's open about that. So this was no small task. She also worked full-time. She has a business, and she took care of her grandchildren most days. This was not someone who was not busy. She still did this for these people. Now, some time passed, maybe about a year, and the dementia started setting in for the woman. The man fell, and he needed to go to the hospital, and my friend Kay got him there. Because I was aware of the early onset dementia, I got his wife over to my house as quickly as possible. She did start leaving the house and wandering, and it was cold out. We love these people. I was not going to risk this woman's health and possible life. So I got her over to my house, and my kids were so happy to have her here. But because this was now out of Kay's depth, she needed to get the next of kin involved. Now, this is where Tina comes in. Tina is the neighbor's daughter. She's the man's daughter, not the woman's daughter. The woman's a stepmother. We knew, Kay and myself and the other neighbors who helped out knew at this point that our elderly neighbors needed to be in a home. They needed care. They could no longer be over there by themselves, especially with the early onset dementia. They needed to be watched, and they needed medical care. But they did not want to go into a home. And honestly, at the time, they would have been separated. And we did not think that this man was going to last much longer. And the very last thing we wanted was for him to go die in a nursing home away from his wife. So my husband and I have been greatly blessed by God. And we happen to have a spare room on the main floor, a big, beautiful, nice room, and another extra bathroom next to it. So I looked at my husband and I said, I can't let this happen. So I want to take them in. And my husband, being the wonderful person he is, he's like, yeah, of course. However, in order to take in the husband, there needed to be medical modifications made to the bathrooms and to the rooms, and we were willing to do that. So I show up to the hospital. I meet this man's wife, Tina, and she's all about it. She wants to wash her hands clean of it. She's gushing over me like, oh, you're an angel. Thank you so much. This is an ideal solution. The understanding was that she would take care of getting whatever needed to be put together so that we could take them in. We are not a nursing home. We could not provide medical care. I could not be a caretaker. It basically would have been like we were opening up our home to keep them together. But we are not a nursing home, especially since I had a newborn at the time and a 1-year-old baby. My oldest at this point was 8. I had an 8, 7, 6, and 5-year-old. I have insane chronic health issues, and my back is really, really bad. You ever hear of flares that leave people debilitated for days sometimes? That's the level I was on at the time. I'm much better now. I've healed up a lot, but at the time, I was even struggling to take care of my family. So the understanding was she would get in place what needed to happen. We would sell their home to pay for their care. I didn't want any kind of financial compensation. I love my adopted grandparents. I couldn't just leave them alone to die. I was advised against it, but I said, no, I can't put them in separate homes right now and separate them. So that was the understanding. My husband was out of town on a business trip, and Kay was out of town, I believe, taking care of someone else or on a retreat or something like that. Tina calls me weeks in advance because her father was supposed to go to rehab while she set up all the other paperwork and getting medical help to my house, and we modified my home, doing all the things. Instead, she calls me and she says, my father just wants to go to your house. I say, I'm not ready for him. Have you talked to anyone about getting medical care here? She assures me, we'll just get him set up in the room. It'll be fine. So I thought to myself, it would be great to make this sweet little reunion video. These people have been crying about how much they miss their spouse. My neighbors, that is. So I get out my camera and I'm taking a video of him getting out of the car and her waiting sweetly in the kitchen to be reunited with him. And it was super emotional. And then I see he can't walk. Tina Horst brought me her father who could not stand on his own. I am but a little woman. I have all of this on video. Not the intended reason, but here we are. So she brings her father into my house, gets him to the bed, and I'm like, okay, this is a dire situation. I can't pick him up. I can't handle this. When does like an aide come tomorrow? Because I assume you got it set up. She just looks at me like I have two heads. She's like, oh, I didn't do any of that. And I'm like, I can't help him to the bathroom. She looks at me and says, oh, well, you can change his diapers. I'm not even joking. I looked at Tina and very sternly said, I do not plan on changing your father's diapers. You were supposed to have this set up and covered. We are not a nursing home. I have my health and my children to take care of. This was just a place for them to stay while they still got medical care. We need to sell their house. I'm not in charge of any of that. I can't do any of this. For all of this, you'd swear this woman would be grateful, and yet the only thing she cared about was washing her hands of her father. And I understand she didn't like her dad. She doesn't get along. They have whatever family dynamic. Maybe something happened. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. If she had come to me and Kay and said, listen, I don't have a relationship with my father because XYZ, didn't even have to go into details. We would have been like, our heart would have gone out to her. We would have picked up the slack and not even asked for the most minimal contact. And yet, what did she say to us? She said, oh, thank God you're taking this over. I don't want anything to do with it. I went through all this with my mom recently, and I am done. One parent was enough. As if we don't have parents, as if we don't have kids to take care of. Why is it now my and Kay's responsibility to do all of this for your dad? Because you're too stressed out. Don't you work part-time? So back to that night, I tell her I'm not changing her father's diapers. I can't get him to the bathroom. Her response was, well, your husband could take him. I said, my husband is a leader in his company. Yeah, he works from home providing for 8 people, but he is not going to put clients on hold to take your father to the bathroom several times a day. My husband is not going to jeopardize his career, which is in part why I have no problem naming Danny's business. Tina tells me, well, I'll come back tomorrow to help, and we'll start figuring out making phone calls, and just leaves. So now I'm alone with these 2 elderly people who need care, one of which has 1 arm. Minutes later, I don't even think it was a whole hour, there's a yell and a thud. I was making food for my kids. I went in there and for the sake of sparing this man, dignity or whatever, I'm not going to go over the scene. I injured my back trying to get him back up. It was very traumatizing, and I put a pillow under his head as I cried, and I said, I'm sorry, I don't think we can make this work. I can't do this. I call his daughter, and she says, oh, whatever, just call 911. An ambulance will come. She really, truly just dumped her elderly father on me. I called 911, and they came, and he had to be loaded back up. And it's insane because if medical care had been set up and I had been ready to go, we probably could have made it work. 2.5 years later, they are now in a home. I'll get to that. The EMTs were loading him up and listening to the explanation, and one of them was asking me, so confused, like, I don't understand. Who are you? I said, I'm the neighbor. He goes, you're not the daughter? Where's his kin? And I had to say in front of this man, whom I love, my adopted granddad, his daughter left him here. The EMT said, you're not set up to take care of them. I said, I know. I want it to be. So they left, and I had a lot of outrage in me because of this. And even then, I'm like, it's an injustice. Yes, I'm angry at how they were treated. Even then, I didn't freak out at Tina. It was an injustice. Yeah, it's fine. Whatever. Let it roll off you. I didn't do anything about it. But then Kay came home, and Danny and Tina started treating her very badly. Now remember, this woman for, I think about 3 years at this point, had been going over to my neighbor's house every day to help them, take care of them, making them appointments, acknowledging the early onset dementia, taking them shopping for food sometimes. Like, she came through for them. She was not asking Tina to fill that role. She was, however, asking for the bare minimum when she couldn't do it. Things like, hey, could you take your father to this doctor's appointment? Because I physically can't. I have to be at work or whatever reason. And Tina getting mad at her for asking that. There was no gratitude in Tina and Danny for anything that Kay did. And they would send her the nastiest messages. She showed me them. Now, Kay is a saint on earth. She told me not to do any of this. She said, let it go. And I said, no. My last straw was when she called me frustrated, asking for help because Tina had done something to screw over the health insurance of the female neighbor. And now she was jumping through hell of bureaucratic hoops in order to help her neighbor because she's not a relative. Her neighbor has no children next of kin. It's insane. This woman at that point had lost 4 hours of her life doing this in a day, and now she's lost several more hours over the last few days jumping through hoops. But it's immediate, it's dire. She needs to get health insurance for this woman. There's nobody else to do it. These people, if Kay had not stepped in, they would have died in their kitchen. And I'm pretty sure she let Tina know how dire the situation was. Danny, I mean, honestly, I met him. I wouldn't be able to recognize him if I saw him. All I know is he sent me a threatening text, and for some reason he thinks I'm worried about this. I'm like, dude, you're a weak man who can't even stand up to your emotional wife. You think I'm scared? He did have few lines in this play. However, they're a team. They not only refuse to acknowledge everything that Kay has done, but they treat her like garbage, sending her nasty text messages if she gives them friendly updates. She is much nicer than me. And that was my breaking point, and I sent them the meanest text message imaginable. I ended it with, I hope God has mercy on your souls. And she said, they'll probably just ignore it. They just ignore my texts. And she showed me the last text she sent them, and it was really nice. Filling them in, updating them, and they just ignored her. There was a text that Danny sent her at one point after she simply updated them and asked them for help in ways that it would have made her life so much easier to get a signature from them because she's not next of kin. And they blasted her, and he sent her this nasty text message, try and act like a manly man, I guess. I watched an elderly man I love realize he was abandoned by his daughter. I'm not saying this guy is a saint. He could have been a horrible father and just calmed down in his later years. I mean, he clearly raised a horrible daughter. But that still did not make it Kay's responsibility to swoop in and save these people from more or less horrific certain death. And they certainly didn't have to act entitled and nasty to my friend. So I'm done after posting this video. I burn real hot, but real short, and I have a lot of other stuff happening in my life. So I'll post this, and like I said, let the universe, the internet, and God take care of it. I do hope they see it in time before it gets too many views. I can't fathom the lack of compassion and empathy. I was willing to take these people in to my home, and she wasn't even willing to do the calls and paperwork for it. This is why it's really, really important to have a community. And these people, they had us. They formed a community. And thank God for Kay. They are now safely in a home. They're getting the medical care that they need. She has moved heaven and earth to make this happen. And she told me about how she just got to visit them without worrying about all this legal stuff. And it was just a nice visit to have with them. I'll probably take my kids up there soon because they miss them. Tina and Danny, I hope you get your act together. Because how you acted was horrible. Have the life you deserve.